Welcome back, Facebook. I'm Jill Malandrino with the Voice of America for NASDAQ's Facebook Live, and we are wrapping up a full day of interviews with the Africa Investor Summit, and we're wrapping up on a high note as we have Hubert Danso, the CEO of Africa Investor, joining me, as well as Uche Orji. He is the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority CEO. Thank you very much for wrapping up a great day with the Africa Investor Summit, and we want to talk about U.S. and African co-investment.
Superb.
Right. So what sectors are you promoting right now that you want to see the U.S. investing in?
We are very bullish on infrastructure. I think the annuity and the long-term nature of infrastructure really sort of aligns very well with the U.S. pension funds and U.S. Life insurance companies that are looking to diversify and get access to the types of growth that are offered in the continent. So infrastructure, in particular energy and renewable energy, are really sort of exciting and interesting assets at the moment that are available. And of course, the African institutional investors that are already investing in them are just the most ideal co-investment partners in our opinion. And really, today's event has really been about sort of connecting the two, and we've had some great conversations, and we are very positive about transactions.
That is definitely the common theme today, was investment in infrastructure and energy, and that's a conversation that we have in the U.S. and the West as well. Wonderful. Where infrastructure has to be built from the ground up, as is in the case in Africa, or rebuilding our infrastructure. How are you going to get that done, though? Where is this investment going to come from?
Well, I think the interesting thing is that African countries of late have set up their own sovereign wealth funds. And the reason that's important is because some of those sovereign wealth funds have a mandate to invest domestically in infrastructure. So take, for example, Nigeria. We set up a sovereign wealth fund, signed into law in 2011, became operational in 2012. And at the moment, in the sovereign wealth fund of Nigeria, we manage three funds. The first fund is a stabilization fund, and the second is a future generations fund. Now, these two funds hold 60% of our assets and invest internationally. Now, the third fund is the Nigeria Infrastructure Fund, which is 40% of the fund, and that invests in infrastructure in Nigeria. The strategy to get that done is to, one of the pillars of the strategy is to create co-investment funds within the infrastructure sector. And recently, we launched a $500 million co-investment fund on real estate, mostly industrial logistics type real estate, as well as office towers and stuff like that. And then the second is an agriculture co-investment fund. So it's more the five key sectors we focused on today in Nigeria are power, toll roads, agriculture, healthcare, and commercial real estate. And so for attracting co-investment funds, the reality is that we've gone into a situation recently with Old Mutual of South Africa where we created this joint fund, and it's a platform that's registered both offshore and onshore. And we both seeded it with $50 million each for the real estate fund, and then we're now raising capital to get to $500 million target. So there is a structure that's been put in place to actually target some of these industrial or infrastructure areas of the market. Similarly, also for agriculture, what we did was $25 million seed from the NSIA with $25 million seed from UFF, which is a fund in South Africa supported by Old Mutual of South Africa, and we're now raising capital also from third-party investors. That's how we've gone about it, and these are the 5 sectors we focused on in Nigeria at the moment.
Right. Well, I report on African markets for the Voice of America, and one common obstacle we hear about is government corruption and transparency.
Sure.
How can you look at U.S. investors on the institutional level and let them know this won't be an obstacle when you're putting your money into Nigeria and other countries on the continent?
Well, I'll just address that very quickly. I think there's an institute based in the U.S., the Sovereign Wealth Fund Institute, which publishes a transparency ranking. And the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority has consistently been in the first quartile of that. And here's how we go about it. There are 3 pillars to transparency. The first is accountability. The third is processes. And the fourth, quite frankly, in our opinion, is governance. So accountability, on the first hand, is every quarter there's a published accounts which is audited by Privatization. And so that actually puts us on notice to make sure that accounts are presented. In terms of processes, we've laid out guidelines and procedures and process, and it's transparent and it's open as to how we conduct business, be it in procurement or be it in giving money to third-party investors. And by the way, we're significantly invested in the United States. We're in so many private equity funds here in the United States. The third thing on the governance is we have an independent board that was selected, obviously, by the government, but these are professionals, and they're independent. And the accountability is largely ring-fenced from government interference. So that's what we can do. But at the end of the day, it's about individuals who run these things. And the way we have set up the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority is such that you've seen many people who are trained but internally and outside the country, who are working to a certain level of standards. And that's why for 3 years in a row, it's been top quartile for transparency.
And just to add to Uche's point, we're seeing that's the government conversation, but ultimately when allocations are made, a large part of the time they're also going to investment managers. And we're seeing that particular community improving their governance through fiduciary ratings, becoming more transparent about the systems that they have in place. So a lot of the third-party custodians that can actually be the key interlocutors working with the allocators are also working to a very high standard of governance. So there are a number of different layers that are all working in a very transparent way. And of course, if you are confronted with corruption, you just simply don't do business with that type of proposition. I mean, there are many opportunities in the continent. There are many countries where there's a lot of great transparency, following the same principles that Uche's just set out. So
are you seeing more privatization of businesses on the continent? Are you seeing more privatization versus more government-run businesses and investment? And you think that's been key?
No, it has been key. It has been key. I mean, I think Nigeria went through a massive privatization program, and the president last year said that he's going to build on and expand that privatization program. I think that's very, very important. And I think, with most of these places, particularly in Nigeria, it is something that our president has recently made a topic that he's going to deal with and deal with decisively. And I think in some ways that should be a statement of confidence to external investors when they want to interact with Nigeria.
The localization and getting the local private sector to play a more leading role in actually developing the economy and getting a greater share of the economic activity, I think is a very, very positive thing.
Well, this sounds like this is the time. This is the time right now.
Absolutely.
And the opportunity to get in on the ground level. Well, thank you very much for being with us at
Pleasure.
the NASDAQ. And we look
Pleasure.
forward to the next 5 to 10 years of innovation and growth in Africa.
Absolutely.
And that wraps up the Africa Investor Summit today at the NASDAQ market site. I'm Jill Malandrino for the Voice of America.